Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the United States of a Movie Podcast. We're the movie podcast that makes every Monday a fun day because we get together and we talk movies, but we also have a point to this because we are the podcast that is trying to define each state in these United States by just one movie. We have already finished one trip around the country. We're now engaged in our second road trip. We're still full of energy. We barely got into the snacks. My name is Ollie Petchku. I love movies. I used to host ePad on Max for Cinemax in Asia. Movies is my passion. Unfortunately, I found two amazing co-hosts who love movies just as much as me, if not more. First of all, Ryan Sander, buddy, welcome back to the show.
You know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The United States of a Movie Podcast is this nation's backbone.
I 100% agree. Honestly, British guys who live in Texas are this country's backbone. In fact, honestly, movie places where you can rent DVDs in the middle of LA are our movie's backbone, as is Will Hirsch. Will, welcome back to the show, buddy.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, especially since I've been caught in the tail of a comet for the past 8 days, and everything in my house is freaking out.
Don't worry. It'll be explained later on by a crawl that talks about some sort of Russian satellite. Believe me, we're going to be getting into this one because we had a couple of bonkers movies this week. This week, the state that we're trying to take down is North Carolina. Last time we visited North Carolina, we had the help of Beth Troutman. She brought some great movies to the table, but there was one champion. It was Bull Durham, which was honestly one of our favorite movies of the entire series. So this one is going to be a tough one. But at the same time, there's a lot I need to talk about this week. I've got, again, 19 pages of notes. Like it got a bit out of hand.
This week has some pretty low lows and then some even lower lows. Like this is it's all lows this episode.
We did a technical group watch of one of them.
We got close. Yeah. We lost one of us about three-quarters of the way through.
I basically died.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Will, why don't you introduce the movie that we did on Group Watch, which was what I didn't even know what it was, but I know a lot of cocaine was involved, not from us, but from the actual maker of the movie.
That's right. We did Stephen King's One and Done, his only directing credit. And hopefully that it will stay that way forever. We did Maximum Overdrive.
Well, I will say that we know actually that it will also be his last movie he ever directed. And when asked about it, he says, just watch Maximum Overdrive to explain why.
Yep. Good. Yep. Should be legally barred for making another movie.
A movie that I'm convinced hates its audience so much that after the title scroll for dummies, it just reads "fuck you" and like a little, like a runner. You're just like, okay, that's where we're going.
You joke about it, but actually, 1 minute into the movie, after the crawl, it just calls Stephen King an asshole, literally, while he's having his own cameo. And I'm like, wow, he got meta. It's the 1986 horror film. I mean, horror.
Biggest quotes ever for that.
Yeah. I'm going with full-on comedy.
Horror Bull,
which is based off the short story Trucks. Spoiler alert: this movie does involve a lot of trucks. It does star Emilio Estevez again, returning once again to the podcast. Pat Hingle, Laura Harrington, other people. Honestly, it gets a little crazy. It does have music by AC/DC, technically, which we're also going to be getting into. But it tells the story of, well, you know what? It tells the story of how much cocaine Stephen King did. And it's a film that exists between an opening crawl and an ending crawl that explain what happened in the movie. But during the movie, you've got no idea what's
and honestly, can I just say, kind of fucking loved it.
Yeah. That is a valid.
Blast watching this movie. I've heard of this movie before. I'm very familiar with the iconography, the Green Goblin on the front of the one truck. It's pretty much, I mean, I think I'd said it's because we had just watched Tremors. I'm like, oh, it's just semi-truck Tremors. Fucking cool. Let's go.
In a way, though, one of the actual notes I have in my book is, it's the opposite of Tremors.
Right.
In the way that,
Yeah.
when we were talking about Tremors last week, one thing we really liked is there was something that happened, there was a setup, there was a payoff, there was a moment, and we really got into the fact is like, man, because there's other movies where you feel like the filmmaker was just, now this is going to happen, and now this is going to happen. Well, guess what? That is the entirety of Maximum
Yes.
Overdrive with Stephen King on cocaine from minute to minute going, what about this? What about this?
It's really quite.
No one said no to him.
Yeah. It's funny because I even said, like, on our text thread, I'm like, this is like a core Stephen King story. It's a bunch of like random people stuck in a location. He has a bunch of stories like this. So it has all the makeup of something that would make a Stephen King story, but who knew that he'd be so bad at adapting Stephen King? Like, he does not understand the point of his own stories. It's wild.
I can't wait for Mike Flanagan's Maximum Overdrive Redux.
Now we're talking.
It did win 2 awards, Razzies, for worst director and worst actor.
Beating out Showgirls.
Well, actually, it lost a Prince for Under the Cherry Moon, which I've never seen. I've heard all about this one. That's his like black and white set in Casablanca, World War II, kind of. I'm like, wow. I mean, that's
Yeah,
just,
it's no Purple Rain. It's
which I've never seen. And honestly, I believe that's set in Minnesota. And guess
Yeah,
which one
for
I'm
sure.
going to be suggesting when we get to Minnesota.
oh, that would be a fun one. Yeah.
But then we also we got another movie. I think Ryan. I think you were the one that brought this to the table.
I brought this to the table. I adore this movie. I still quote it to this day. This came out at a time when I was like really into this genre of movie. And I forget, it was 2012.
2012. Yeah.
2012. Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis in The Campaign.
The
A movie I
Campaign.
quote like in my sleep. I quote this.
Directed by Jay Roach, who did the Austin Power movies, Meet the Parents, Dinner for Schmucks. Also did Trumbo and Bombshell. Though I have to do it because as soon as you sort of mentioned the movie and you mentioned the genre, Will's face, if you were listening and you're not watching us on YouTube, Will's face was a picture. Will, what would you define as the genre of this movie? Because you weren't being very happy about this movie on our text thread.
I think the genre of this movie is misery. This is, I might have to start exercising some veto power the next time a Will Ferrell movie comes up. I didn't laugh one time.
Really?
I didn't even get close.
Oh,
Like,
man.
I'm not
I was
even in the
cracking up.
neighborhood.
Now I'm
of
just curious.
laughter.
I'm wondering if it's an age thing. If you just like you were just after like all of this Will Ferrell kind of, your Anchormans and Blades of Glory and things like that, Step Brothers, or if you just don't like him at all.
I think it's because I see him do like live shows and SNL and all that. And he's funny in that, but there's just something where you put it to film and the humor goes completely away from me. It's just nothing.
Yeah, you know what? I'm like, so I think Will Ferrell's absolutely brilliant. Honestly, one of my favorite movies he's ever been in is Stranger Than Fiction. But this movie did make me laugh. But at the same time, I was seeing so much copy and paste from other movies like this one. So it's like, I kind of put the kind of movies together, if I look at them, it's kind of like, it's Old School, it's Anchorman, it's Talladega Nights, Blades of Glory, Semi-Pro, Step Brothers, The Other Guys, The Campaign, are all these kind of movies which, let's just and the thing is, I still
He's a buffoon, yeah.
Yeah, but I like this movie and it made me laugh. But there is one actual note where I was like, because he's got his hot blonde wife and you've got the scenes where he's sitting around having dinner. These are scenes that are exactly taken from Talladega Nights, just with a slightly different hot blonde wife and it's slightly different kids. You know what I mean? But that being said, this movie actually stopped being funny for me when I realized that it's just American politics today.
It's on such a smaller scale, but still the ramifications of it, like them bringing in factories from China.
Yeah.
There's a place in China called America that they're trying to
just
it's made in America.
People,
There's actually voter fraud. There's actually like
they're rigging voting
stealing-
machines. Like,
yeah,
I'm
there's just millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars being put in, and it's all just about what
there's
can be
Brian
done.
Cox fishing again. Okay,
Brian Cox. It's again turns up as another random cameo on the show. But it's like, yeah. So for me, it's like I'm going to say, because I'm going to go with Ryan. I watched it for the first time today. I think Ryan is convinced we'd maybe watched it.
I swear we watched it.
You were definitely. It was definitely during the pandemic. It was definitely a midnight showing where we'd been drinking since 10 in the morning.
Yeah, so it was the 10th movie we watched.
Yeah. So because I didn't remember any of it, but I will say this movie did make me laugh. Now it tells a story of a campaign, spoiler alert, for the congressional House race in North Carolina. Shame we couldn't have Beth Troutman on the show. She was just super busy with her show, seeing as she's actually someone that ran for Congress in North Carolina back in the day before
Beth
I ever
Troutman
met.
012.
Yeah.
I'm with Ryan on this one. Like, Will, what is this just a bad day for you? You just like, what was it that you wasn't jamming for you?
I think a lot of it's because a lot of the Zach Galifianakis of it is stuff that's lifted directly from his Purple Onion special.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm watching it and I'm like, I've seen him do all
it's
this.
his
jokes.
twin brother character. Seth Galifianakis.
But I'm like, so all these jokes were already in that and they were better. So I'm just watching a repeat of a lot of his jokes. And then Will Ferrell, once again, is just a Will Ferrell character I've seen 9 times.
He's doing his,
I
like,
barely
George
found
Bush
it funny the first
It's
time.
very George Bush impression from
Yeah.
SNL adjacent.
I think too, this was maybe maybe my timeline is skewed, but I think this might be like the last movie in that very Will Ferrell forward comedy.
I did look up his filmography, and I don't think there's a Eurovision he did after this, which I hated.
Oh, what? I love that movie. Okay, don't get me started.
No.
That's great. Actually, that movie made me cry from happiness. No, it's just stupid. But no, there's a bunch, guys. No, there was Anchorman 2 immediately after this. There was Get Hard, Daddy's Home, Zoolander 2, Daddy's Home 2, Holmes and Watson. Remember that? No one does.
Oh my god.
The Lego Movie 2, Eurovision, which I think is funny, Spirited, which I haven't seen. That's that Apple Christmas movie that it keeps pushing. With Ryan Reynolds. And he was in the Barbie movie. But no,
Right.
the campaign was about halfway in the Will Ferrell verse of like...
Yeah, but all the movies you described are sequels, and sure, Anchorman too, but like a lot of those movies, he's not, I don't know. It doesn't fit within this very Step Brothers template. So to
But I
speak.
would say, no, you're right, that I would say that Step Brothers, the other guys, Semi-Pro, Blades of Glory, Talladega Nights, all are this same genre of movie. Just pick another funny person. If it's not Sacha Baron Cohen, it's Zach Galifianakis, right? Get the hot blonde wife. It's a tight 90. If not, it's actually more like a tight 82.
I watched the director's cut, which is a little bit longer.
It wasn't extended. I did see that existed as well. But like, for me, it was funny. It was funny right from the get-go, where he's just like, because it is a spot on satire of American politics, to the point, like I said, it's very scarily accurate in 2024. But it's like, it just starts off with him just like, okay, what is it? Like America, Jesus, freedom. It's just say that. They love it.
What does that mean? I don't fucking know, but people love it when I say it. I know this movie front to back, but I'll spare you. But I love, oh my God, Ted Lasso. I forget his name.
Jason Sudeikis.
Jason Sudeikis. He's great in this as like the straight man. And this movie is a very like hard R for like language, especially the director's cut that I watched. I think
wow.
The cut, like at the beginning when Marty Huggins is at the dinner table with his family doing like the confession thing, like the shit the little boys are saying like goes on and on.
I was laughing a lot during that scene, but I was also in that moment just picturing how, okay, they've got everyone at the table and the director's pitching lines from behind camera. Say this, say this. We're going to get it all in the edit. They were funny though, Will. They were funny.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Okay, there's a movie called Bad Grandpa from the Jackass guys.
Yeah.
Where they do a very similar like bit where the directors are feeding the kid like insane lines to say. But the reason why it's funny is because they're around regular people who don't know they're being recorded.
Sure.
And the kid is saying funny stuff and they're getting real reaction. That makes it funny. This, I'm just watching and I'm like, an adult gave something like dirty for a kid to say.
Right. But
Great.
you know what?
Can this go on for 20 more minutes,
You,
please?
you mean to tell me the kid saying I put a firefly in my butthole isn't funny? Come on, that's good. Why? It's like Zach Galifianakis' like deadpan responses to that is he's just like.
Well, like, what's the
it.
guy's name from 30 Rock? He turns up in it.
Jet.
Yeah, what's that guy's
Oh
name?
my God,
He's in
Kenneth the
everything.
Page. God, what's his name?
Oh my God, yeah.
See, no
Kenneth
one
the
can
Page.
Kenneth the Page, but he turns up in everything, basically always playing himself. But like,
Yeah.
it's the bit where because it gets like right up at the beginning, so it's kind of interesting. So like Will Ferrell's like the Democrat incumbent that no one ever runs against,
Right.
and he's kind of George W. Bush, but he's also kind of Bill Clinton, and he's also just kind of like Donald Trump as well.
And he's the Democrat.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
I always forget watching this movie, which is crazy.
And then that's what I mean. And then you get Zach Galifianakis, who like runs as the Republican, but he's got this kind of like, quasi sort of like, sort of homosexual vibe to him, even though he is like, married with children. He's playing this whole
it's just
character.
it's that Southern twang. Like there's
Right. But it's like, it's the bit right at the beginning where they just show how much of a dick Will Ferrell is. And he's just the horniest guy that when he calls and leaves the message on the wrong,
my God, it's the best.
on the wrong,
Let's do something weird tonight, like eat each other's buttholes.
I love how unamused Will's face is right now. Like Ryan and I go, "This shit was funny," and Will's like, "Guys, I want to quit the podcast." This
I don't.
movie
That's the thing. Like, I don't know if it's a product of like when I saw it, but I was like really into those kinds of comedies because back then, that's really all like in that time period. That's all there kind of was, right?
I'm watching it today on my sofa at 3:00 in the afternoon by myself, going, "Ha ha!" Funny.
I think some of the lines are great when his campaign manager is showing him how after he makes that phone call that you're talking about, how his ratings drop, and he's like, "Yeah, but if you just turn it this way."
And I like he was doing the whole like, let me explain. Can you explain a little bit better? It's like Price is Right. Anyway, I like that. I liked it. God, Will, what would you change about this movie apart from everything?
Well, okay, so a big problem for me in this movie is you have the Zach Galifianakis character who's just kind of he's from a wealthy family, I guess. And so the non-Koch brothers in this movie kind of just pick him,
the Moke brothers.
Yeah.
Mox.
Yeah, they pick him to be the candidate. And I'm like, God, a lot of problems in this movie would be fixed. There's A, they gave anybody an actual character instead of just punchlines. But B, if you could clearly demonstrate that it was his desire to do something like this, and this is something he's wanted, and now he's being plucked out, being like, hey, you're going to get your shot, the thing he's always wanted. And as he's going through it, realizing like, oh, everything I wanted is not like, this is actually not what I wanted.
Well,
like this, I'm not doing what I thought.
Approval.
He wants his dad's approval, and he wants to do the best
why?
by
His dad
town.
sucks. Like, there's no point in this movie where you're like, oh man, there's
there's
not even like a wrong kid died kind of moment. It's his dad sucks from the get-go. It's like, I just want him to be happy. It's like, why?
His dad only sucks because Marty wore Crocs to his mom's funeral.
So quickly, like, for those that haven't seen the movie, the Moach brothers, that's actually John Lithgow and Dan Aykroyd, already loving that one. And then Zach Galifianakis' dad, as we mentioned, turned up is Brian Cox. So this cast, it fills up. We've even got Dylan
McDermott Mulroney. Yeah.
And they even make that joke in this movie.
The very end, the post credits, which I'm sure Will didn't stick around for.
I did see that, and that was the closest I came to laughing. Right, it was like, oh, I'm glad they acknowledge it's Dermot Mulroney or Dylan McDermott, whichever one it is.
See, we can't even fucking figure it out.
I refuse to learn.
They're doing all the AKAs for this guy as his criminal mastermind.
Stavros, the candle maker, the butcher,
the candlestick maker,
the baker.
Dermot,
I was like,
Dermot Mulroney, and I was like, okay, all right, they got me on that one.
Because I love that it was the SNL bit forever ago that was like a game show where it was like Dylan McDermott or Dermot.
Rudy.
And then there was a third one that I can't remember either.
But I will say that, like, I get kind of what Will's saying is that it is just a bunch of comedy. And I say that like that's a bad thing. But it's like, it's only in like the last 15 minutes where someone gains a moral, which is Zach Galifianakis' character, where he's like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to sell out my town. And then in the last, 2 minutes, Will Ferrell goes, fuck it. He's the guy. The end, roll the credits. So I'm like, I get what you mean, Will, is that, we could have had some sort of more arcing stuff.
It's
but
like a stretched out SNL bit.
Yeah, it is.
Films. I understand.
Yeah, and they get there. But there are some that work and there are some that don't. This one, I think, is working enough. I think by this point, at the halfway point, like we were saying in the Will Ferrell filmography, because like everyone, there was one that would hit, there's one that wouldn't. Like Kicking and Screaming was okay, right? Bewitched hadn't worked. The producer had been amazing. Talladega Nights, I think, is very fucking funny. Blades of Glory, I think, is hilarious. Semi-Pro, I remember just coming and going. Step Brothers, big. Land of the Lost, not. Other guys, mid. And then, so I think by the time we get to the campaign, which is right before we do Anchorman 2, which I found Anchorman 2 to be quite lazy. When we talked about it, where
that's like far worse than, it's basically what this movie does, but far worse. It's like there's no structure. It's just small vignette jokes.
But I think twofold. There's two reasons. Is one is just people kind of getting tired of the shtick, but two, because the movie does actually talk. It does, like I said, it's making jokes, but it's not funny anymore. Because of where we are and the way politics is. And they does get into Citizen United. At the end, they go, well, you've done all this stuff, but there's nothing we can do about it because you guys passed the law that makes this legal. So you know what? Money means power. Welcome to America. So I think because it's talking politics, even though it makes like the Democratic guy, just the gigantic fuck up alcoholic, whatever the hell he is. I just don't think America's got the sense of humor to be able to joke about politics. As a both sides thing, you know what I mean? You can have really biting satire. You can have the stuff that Armando Iannucci.
It's a tough one. Yeah, it's a tough one for sure.
Yeah, it definitely. I think that especially for me recently, I'm just like, I just a lot of this kind of political analysis comedy. I'm just like, I really don't want to hear it right now. Like it's
come on, we'll laugh through your trauma.
So there is that aspect of it, but I think just the other aspect is just where I'm like, there's just no character. It's all just, hey, what are we saying in the room that's making us laugh? We have a bare thread of a story, and just film the scenes and make us laugh and move on. And I'm like, all right. For some people, like I said, I'm the odd one out. I'm famous for saying like big budget comedies just don't work for me. I think the more star power and the more money you pour into a comedy, the least funny it gets. I think comedy works really, really well when it's tiny, small budget, and it's like character driven. I think that's when it works really, really well. When you pump that budget up, it loses its appeal for me.
It's kind of like Bottle Rocket.
Yeah.
In a way, because we're like, it's very, very small, very, very indie. I mean, it's kind of niche, but like, but this is also like, it's got a movie with lines like, it looks like Richard Simmons crapped out a Hobbit.
Yeah. But
the bit when they're trash talk, he's like teaching him how to trash talk on stage is fucking great. He's like, now you go. The bit where he goes to the church with the snakes, and then you have that extended runner of him running through the fucking woods, eating a raccoon, and then bursting through that same family's house.
Dude, so that is on the extended edition. That is not in the version that I saw.
I was gonna say I have no idea what you're talking about. Did I just blank out? Like,
no, what I like, it's one of the. You're talking characters, Will. My favorite character in the movie is Mrs. Yao.
Oh my! I was gonna say it's my least favorite part of this movie. I was like, oh, this has.
It's great though. So they have sort of the Asian housekeeper, but they're working for Brian Cox. But he makes her speak in the whole plantation Southern, sort of like oh my god, and because it reminds him of the good old days kind of stuff. That I'm just like, oh my. But she does the accent really well.
When she breaks at the end and she's like, you need to tell Martin to stand up for himself, and like it's this really heartfelt moment. He goes, what'd you say?
See, I thought it would have, in my head, I thought the joke was going to be like when she talked her normal voice, he's going to be like, oh my God, I forgot that was your actual voice. Like she'd been doing it for so long. Right. Just like, that's your voice?
It pays her to talk like that.
Yeah.
But, okay. At this point though, so as the movie's kicking into sort of gear, I've got now we've got the Chinese sweatshop. Now we've got the rich Americans exploiting that. And then I go, oh my God, too accurate. It's becoming a documentary. And then I write, this movie is stupid, but I'm laughing. Like I said, it's that bit that Ryan was talking about, is the kids confessing. It's like, because it just starts escalating and escalating. It's like, I had a beer with the backer and he let him touch his his wife's titties. And it's like, I take up skirts.
Call back later.
And then the wife is just like, I masturbated to Drew Carey.
Drew Carey, yeah.
I was sorry. What? It was just, I was laughing, man. I was laughing.
And I like the whole Dermot Mulroney, that character brought in to make him not suck. Yeah. And then switch when they break, but or the bit later when Cam Brady goes to Marty Huggins' house to try and make amends, to try and make peace, to start fresh, and he's got the camera and he shares the small batch, but when he tries to throw the glass into the fireplace and it doesn't break, That was really funny to me.
Well, so Dylan Dermot Mulroney McVeigh, whatever his name is, he comes in and he's kind of like he's the political
fixer, right?
fixer, yeah, for the not Koch brothers. And it's funny because it's like getting to that part where like even they replace the dogs because it's just so Will Ferrell's like, oh, he's got dogs, they're from China, and like get rid of your communist dogs. And I'm like, man, the thing is, right, it's funny, but it's now Twitter. It's now just real fucking life. Is people are this stupid.
When they're doing that like group photo and the camera pans up to the dogs like longingly sitting in the window. It's fucking funny. I think this movie's funny, man.
And the guy, he comes in, we need more guns, we need Bibles, put a Bible there, we get some guns on the wall, get an eagle on the thing. These are the two best, the best dogs that you can have. One's going to be called whatever, Chance. One of them was the name of Joe Biden's dog. You know what I mean? It's just so on the nose.
It's like
got to be Sergeant or
Scout or something.
Yeah, Scout or Shotgun or whatever the hell it is. And it's just like, oh my God. And then I've got it written here, like the bit that caught me off guard is the for no reason the post-debate nip slip. Yeah. So you've got like the cute girl that comes up afterwards
with his brother who's married.
Yeah. And then she knows everybody knows her, but it's Dermot Mulroney when he casually takes
I thought that was gonna like come up later, but it doesn't. Like you think like, oh, he's gonna use that to like ruin his career.
But then we get the moment that I did know. It's in the trailer. You couldn't miss it. And I'm sorry, funny. I'm having to just, poor Will. It's just like, we might as well make him watch Showgirls again. But no, we're the bit
where then I might laugh.
You wish.
Where he punches the baby.
Yeah, it's great.
And like you get that great slow-mo. You get the ripple in the baby's face. You get
spit. The pacifier landing on the floor. It's like, was it Mike Tyson's his mouth guard popped out? Yeah, right.
And then it's like, this movie is filled with the Wolf Blitzers, the CNNs, the MSNBCs,
a couple guys I was hoping I would never have to see again in my life. And they popped up. I'm like, oh man.
It was kind of like like a worse version of Dave. Yes, exactly. When Dave were having the actual people sort of.
It's always so funny to me that they can get these like actual news people to do films like this. That's always strange to me, but
there should be a compilation of like all Wolf Blitzer's cameos because he's in Mission Impossible. He is all over the place.
The fact he got in Mission Impossible, and he's in Fallout, which is the best Mission Impossible of them all. I'm like,
plus
Blitzer!
It's the coolest fucking name any human has ever had.
Very true.
It's right up there with Delroy Lindo.
Yeah, he does sound like he is a spy. Wolf Blitzer. It sounds like one of those lazy characters that you get from a Michael Bay movie.
It sounds like the shitty name I would put on a fake poster starring Liam Neeson.
Exactly.
I was trying to remember some of those random what's like, his name's Raymond Calitri. Call himself the carpenter. What was like
60 seconds? Yeah.
What is his name? What is Nick Cage's name in Gone in 60 Seconds? I can't.
Randall Raines.
No, when it never rains, it pours.
Yeah.
Oh my God, those bloody movies. So then I'm like, I get into this. So the political ads, they come in, they seem ridiculous.
So good.
Except they are the kind of political ads you now just get.
Yeah.
If you're on
crazy,
YouTube,
especially this year, you're like, oh my God, it's.
I mean, some of the shit. So I do lots of videos. I do lots of videos about Texas as that Englishman in Texas. I've got my Facebook page, and the algorithm, because I just post about Texas and I'm in Texas, I cannot believe some of the shit that is pushed. Oh, maybe you'll like this. Maybe you'll like that. I'm like, oh my God. No wonder the country's going insane because these. But just the way it's being pushed and stuff like that is crazy. And it's the kind of shit that is being played for laughs in this movie. Though I did notice that one of the ads that Will Ferrell put together to attack What's-His-Face, it has the exact same eagle screen that we have for the podcast at the beginning.
Wow.
You're saying they ripped us off?
They ripped
Get
us
ready,
off,
Will
man.
Ferrell. We're getting our lawyers ready.
I love those two commercials. The guy pitching them is great. He's in The Boys. He's the guy directing their version of Justice League or whatever.
Yeah.
He's there as Zack Snyder.
He's also in he's in The Wolf of Wall Street as well.
Yeah, he's in it.
He's great.
But the two commercials that he puts together, one that's like of Marty Huggins as the terrorist with the mustache and the red eyes, and then the one that's just like the horny porno with Shayna, and he's like, oh, I gotta call her. She's gonna love this. Run them both. That was so funny to me. I'm like, why would you run both of those ads?
Yeah, and what is my note immediately after that is I can't stand how disappointing it is that this is our new reality. And it's just like we're in that like the Lord's Prayer scene where with Jason Sudeikis sort of acting out the Lord's
in a
Prayer.
helicopter. Yeah. Him like miming it is great. He's the Temptations in it, and he's just like looking on. I think it's funny.
For anybody that listens to our podcast, and you don't watch us on YouTube, just pause. Go to the YouTube version and just hit play at the exact same time so you can see Will biting back, just
Slowly
blinking
dying,
back tears.
Yeah, I'm still here, by the way. I have not left.
It's just, there's nothing. Will's face is just like, no, guys, I just.
So you don't like any Will Ferrell movies? Like you didn't like when Anchorman came out, or
No, I was never into. I kind of like Step Brothers a little bit, but I
Old
think
School. I think it's like first kind of popular one, right?
not really. Like I would never rank it as like one of my favorites. But I don't know what it is. There's just some Adam Sandler movies. There's something about those movies where I'm just like, they just don't do it for me, man.
You don't like Happy Gilmore?
Not as much as other people do. I don't hate it. There's definitely some funny parts. Same thing with Billy Madison.
You're gonna
Funny
love
parts.
Happy Gilmore too when that hits Netflix.
I'm positive. It just, man, there's just no movie I'm looking forward to more.
50 First Dates? Don't like 50 First Dates?
No, God,
I don't
no.
even really like that one, but
Really?
yeah. I mean, I get it too. Like, I think those movies became very like samey. It's just him doing the same character in a different kind of pastiche. But that's why I think Uncut Gems was so good because
Yes,
we're an not adaptation.
Sandler?
Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
Punch Drunk
where it's not
Yeah.
like a comedy, but you have a comedy actor, playing a very serious role. Like
Yeah,
Robin Williams
it's-
would do that kind of shit.
And it's the same thing for Will Ferrell. When he's not in Will Ferrell movies, I think he's great. You mentioned Stranger Than Fiction.
Stranger
I
Than
like
Fiction
that.
is
But
a
those
great
movies
movie.
don't make any fucking money. Like
They
no
know
one
they
wants
don't,
to see
yeah.
those movies. They want comedy Will Ferrell.
And I think this is the kind of movie that like, this is not to sound like an insult, but this is the kind of movie like
Power
my mom
through it.
my like mom or like my parents would be like, oh, let's go see that because it has so many famous comedians in it.
Yeah.
And I'll have the conversation be like, did anything in the trailer make you laugh? Well, no, but Will Ferrell, I'm like, stop there. If it didn't make you laugh, we're not going.
It's kind of the same as like a Bridesmaids, like that genre of. We brought this up before on the podcast. Like it's that genre of very loosey goosey improv feeling line delivery.
Yeah, when it's too loose. When it's too loose, I
Yeah.
don't like it. It's like you've got to have your Edgar Wright framework of the comedy. And yes, maybe in the moment when you're shooting it, you're going to find something. But we talked about it. Same thing. It's a difference between Anchorman 1 and Anchorman 2. I think Anchorman 1 had a plot that they then improved on. And I think Anchorman 2 had an outline and they just improvised every fucking scene. And just go, oh, that'll work. We'll fix it in the edit.
I'm honestly surprised this was a Jay Roach movie and not an Adam McKay film,
Yes, it feels
crazy,
like an
right?
Adam McKay, doesn't it?
Yeah, you think Jay Roach, you think Austin Powers, and that's really all I remember from his filmography.
And for me, like, when it comes to like the style of comedy, I always maintain that like Monty Python and the Holy Grail is the funniest movie ever made.
Yeah.
And that movie is like those jokes are there's like one or two instances of improv in that entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it is script. Like the story is of course all over the place and just meant to be vignettes, but they wrote those out. Like they had to have costumes and there had to be some sort of structure.
Well, it's all over the place and random because it is based on the Bible. So
Yes, exactly. And it is still to this day the most accurate King Arthur movie that they've
hang on a
ever
second.
made.
I'm getting a text message. We've been cancelled. There we go. But I'm with you, Will. I'm with you. I get it. But still, like this movie, it's going to win any Oscars or anything. But it was making me laugh, and I'm just like, for me, if I'm laughing out loud, when I'm sitting by myself and I'm laughing out loud, it's tickling some funny bone for me. The worst part, it's actually the part that I was halfway through the movie and I wrote it down. I go, I think American flag lapels getting bigger and bigger, and it's actually one of the top.
I noticed that at one point.
It is so. It's like it's at the worst that Will Ferrell's doing in the campaign, the bigger his American flag lapels get, and that again, it's such a American political
And you
theater.
look at like when he's doing his not concert, but his speech, and it's literally like one of these DNC RNC rallies. It's like so over the top and fireworks, and he's like ziplining in with a keytar.
The keytar, yeah, when he's towards
Great.
the end, that did make me laugh as well.
Great.
I'm gonna say that, and yeah, I mean, like he the bit that I think really cracked me up. So he punches the dog as well. That was quite funny. But no, it's the bit where Zach Galifianakis. It's where they do the campaign ad where it's really ramping up, and so
Oh my God.
hidden camera steals Will Ferrell's sort of son and gets him to call him dad, and then he kind of like turns the camera and I go, I reluctantly approve this message, and
Yeah.
it's Will Ferrell's response of like, what are we gonna do?
That's the best bit of this movie is
Yeah.
after this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fuck his
I'm
wife.
gonna fuck his
And
wife.
Jason Stiggins is so like, yeah, well, no, you can't do that. He's like, no. He's like, what, you got to book of bad ideas over there? He's like, no, I got to book a good idea. It's
But it's
chapter
the fact,
one.
because it's funny anyway. But it's the ad that they cut, and again,
Oh
and
my
it's this is the bit that I really like. Again, I think this movie is kind of a bit of idiocracy in being very prescient and predicting how it goes, because it's like he fucks Zach Galifianakis' wife, makes a sex tape video ad about it, puts it out, and his numbers go
up. Yeah.
And that's exact. I mean, it's the same as like Zach Galifianakis turns up and just shoots him immediately afterwards.
Yeah, his numbers go up.
And he goes up, and this is 2012. This is 2.5 years before Donald Trump says I could shoot someone in the middle of like Fifth Avenue and my numbers would go up. And I'm like, that sounded ridiculous at the time. This movie seemed like a satire at the time. It's not. This country is crazy. I've been living here for 10 years. You are all insane.
I was saying on the text thread, probably like the last time I sat and watched this movie, probably with showing it to people who'd never seen it, was 2016 before the election. And even then I was like, oh, it's funny, but it's weird how much like a lot of this stuff aligns or it's coming true. And then you watch it again 4 years later and you're like, oh no. But it still holds up. Like, I mean, it's a testament to, it's how hard it is to make like a political themed film, but still holds up pretty well, unless we're just stupid and politics have never changed and we're just not.
I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the thing. I just watched too much West Wing when I was younger and idealistic, and figured that it came to sort of things like running a country, intelligence and facts would be involved. But no, apparently not. It's just money.
Yeah.
Money.
I do like the bit at the end of the film when, he confesses they have this whole monologue about this school slide that they're they call it, like, oh god, just this rusty piece of metal, and he shows it. He's like, yeah, I got that scarred me. He's like, oh, I got a scar too, and he like lifts his whole shirt up and he's just scarred all around,
all the way down his leg as well.
I will say, like, the makeup in this, like the practical effects that they have, like after he's bitten by the snake and he's rolled out in the hospital, the gigantic
huge arm.
is hysterical.
Oh, I love this. I'm like, Will's left, everybody. If you are listening to us, he's actually gone. I think he's going to pick up a pizza. He'll be back in a few minutes. He's put a little sign up that says,
there was nothing you thought. I mean, you were so like, you were going into this, you were so not looking forward to it. So I can see why, like, and I get it. Was there any like redeeming thing you enjoyed?
No, this is kind of
not enough Pauly Shore, maybe.
Oh god,
we need
this
some.
This is going to go into that category of movies like Talladega Nights, where I saw that in theaters with friends, and then the next day, ask me anything about what happened, I'd be like, I don't know. I can't. It's going to completely leave my brain.
I don't know. He wanted to go fast. Whatever.
Yeah, it's just, I think Will Ferrell was in it. I think he was a race car driver. I don't know.
I like that movie.
Man, I think Talladega Nights is a funny movie, which we almost.
If you don't
picked.
like the framework that it's made from, you're not gonna like that.
I'm just not the audience. Like that. That's just kind of my thing. Is and again, clearly, you look at the box office for these movies. I'm the odd man out. Like this is very clearly a me thing, but it is just not my cup of tea as far as humor goes.
Hey Ricky, I saw Islander. It was shit. I'm sorry.
Is that from the movie?
Yeah, that's one of those movies. I could quote that one like pretty good.
You could be making that up. I'm not going to fact check you.
Talladega Nights is the only Blu-ray disc that I own because I think it came with my PlayStation 3 when I bought it.
Actually, guys, you're going to be super proud of me. We've talked about this a lot on the podcast, but my Christmas present just arrived. I got a Blu-ray player for Christmas, so I'm finally.
Oh man,
Oh my god! You got a
I'm
PS5
finally-
Pro
I'm
just
gonna
to
send you
watch Blu-rays?
Showgirls right now.
the Steelbook. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I did like, so one thing I liked, we talked about him before, is Dylan McDermott Mulroney, whatever his name is. Very handsome guy, but he's playing his comedy pretty well in this one.
great.
For a guy that's turning up not the comedian, he's got some pretty funny jokes. Like, or just the reveal, like it's the bit where Zach Galifianakis is talking with his wife and they're having a really serious conversation. And she's like, when did Tim become a part of this family? And then it just cuts to Tim is actually sitting in the background eating cereal. You know what I mean? It's like, but the other one is when he just appears in Will Ferrell's shower. You know, he's just magically
eating the same apple. He's always eating like an apple for some reason. But like when Zach and his wife, or when Marty Huggins and his wife, they're like, we want just like one. Can we have like one night where we used to? And it's just them dancing around, doing dumb shit. Like he's just playing the air guitar, and Dylan McDermott Mulroney just walks in. He's like, "What the fuck is this?" And he's like, "You're playing Hop Along with the Fuck Around Gang."
This is Ryan. All of Ryan's favorite parts of this movie are from the extended version that I did. That's another part.
Again, I was like, I must have fallen asleep.
Well, it's the better version.
The bit, so Dylan McDermott's character comes in, and he now, because they decide to manipulate Will Ferrell because Zach Galifianakis doesn't want to destroy the city, and insourcing by bringing the Chinese sweatshops to North Carolina. But it's like there's a bit where he's driving through town and he's looking at all these ridiculous billboards, and like for me, it looked exactly like Trump NFTs, the playing cards you can get. They're that level of ridiculous. And again, this is where I'm just like slapping myself in the head, just going,
how do they predict this?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's 12 years later, and this is the political climate that America lives in now, and it's like taken seriously. This was a comedy. The combination of this and Idiocracy is just like scary.
I was thinking about that too. The parallels, how real it's all become.
Yeah, just like the Elon Musks of it all, the people that can just buy things and just be ridiculous. But yeah, I mean that's kind of what I think this movie should get another watch. If you haven't seen it, I'd say give it a watch. Don't listen necessarily to Will, who's not wrong in his assessment per se, but Ryan and I are also children. And there are some very silly, very funny, stupid moments in this movie. But like I say, the satire of it's actually become pretty spot on in a scary way.
Almost to a fault. Like I think it knocks this movie down a few pegs. Rewatching it again with that in the front of my mind, like the current climate.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Ryan, as I'm watching, going, "Oh, this would be funny if it wasn't not funny."
Real, yeah.
Okay, look, Will. Okay, I'm gonna force you before we can move on. Right.
All right.
You have to say one nice thing. Not a sarcastic nice thing, not a funny Will comment nice thing. What is one thing about this movie, and not the nip slip, that you like? Where the baby got punched, Ollie.
Oh God,
Take your time.
I was gonna say I don't know. They cut out Thomas Middleditch's part for the most part. That's a good idea. Because he's not funny.
That was a sarcastic. That's not a nice thing.
I know. I'm like
Jack McBrayer is the guy's name, by the way.
Jack McBrayer.
Okay. That was the closest I ever came to laughing. Was
I thought you were just going to be done. That's the closest that I ever came.
That was the closest I came. Yeah. No, where she goes, "I'm your twin sister."
Oh yeah,
that was the closest where I was like, okay,
is she also
almost at a joke?
Is it the two of them? I can't remember if it's the same actress that also plays like his new wife.
I thought
Sarah Marshall.
I thought it, but I don't think it's the same
fucking
one.
Funny.
Yeah,
that answering machine bit is fucking gold.
I'm sorry,
it's
the
so
answering
gold.
machine was funny, and then everybody confessing what they did was quite funny. But yes, the twin sister thing where he's like, "I run a meth lab out of our children's like tree houses. I'm your twin sister."
Jesus Christ! I like the biker callback was cool.
Yeah, sometimes I let kids touch my wife's titty.
Yeah. One of my favorites. It's a great
All right.
comedy.
So I tell you what, and we do this on the podcast now, that I think Ryan and I are saying, watch this movie. If it's available on streaming, give it a go. Granted, I had to pay for the movie today, which was, I had to rent it, it's a thing. But I laughed. Will is giving you every thumbs down possible, I think, for this particular one.
Yeah, with the caveat of this is not my genre. So it might be your genre. If you enjoy like Will Ferrell's other movies, you enjoy that kind of humor, this will be for you. So don't let me tell you it's not funny. You should watch it.
Okay, I have a sort of an observation, a question, and a segue all in one, basically.
You have to pick one or the other.
Wait, I can do this. I'm a professional. Okay. But like in the fact that you have just now given us your assessment and your rating of this Will Ferrell movie, The Campaign, because it's not your cup of tea, it's not good, it's not funny, it doesn't make sense. What is your opinion of the drug-fueled, nonsensical, pure insanity that is Maximum Overdrive? Would you say this was a fun watch? This is a good movie? This is something you'd recommend?
The word art is thrown around a lot these days.
Wait, had you guys never seen?
No.
I saw it years and years and years ago. This might as well have been the first time
I'd never seen it either. So
I'd only seen one scene. I'd seen a bit where he was fueling up the trucks. It was on late one. But I realized I'd not seen any of this other movie. Maximum Overdrive. Will, is this a movie that you found entertaining? Did you enjoy it? Did you laugh? Would you recommend it to people?
Yes, and yes.
See, so this is what I'm talking
about. Around. This was awesome because it sucked so bad. This was fantastic.
Yeah, no, let's do it. Let's take pity on Will. We will move on from The Campaign. Let's jump into Maximum Overdrive, a movie that we did all start watching together about 3/4 of the way through. I know that Ryan either fell asleep, had a panic attack, or died, or all three, because there was a moment where he just went silent on the text thread, and Will and I were speculating that maybe he had also been Maximum Overdrive.
I thought it would be a good idea to smoke some of the devil's lettuce on this one. I was like, I'm an adult. I can do what I want. It's Friday night, and boy, do I regret it because. I thought I missed like half of the movie. It was only like 20 minutes.
Yeah, you dropped off in the last 20 minutes when we were like, okay. But this movie...
And I remembered nothing, so I had to go back and rewatch the movie. Because
you actually thought your Roomba was trying to kill you.
Maybe it was. I mean, that's the thing.
I had to ask, like, was this Michael Bay's inspiration for that like one scene in the Transformers film where like the Xbox and... the soda machine and shit all come to life?
Yes.
Could be.
Yeah, just go with it. Yeah.
Or just the inspiration for every movie ever made. Honestly, this 1986, as we were saying. So this is a peculiar movie. Like we said, based off of one of his short stories. Now, other movies have been based off his short stories, like The Shawshank Redemption.
Not enough robots.
Not enough. Not nearly enough.
Not enough trucks.
Not enough hip firing of bazookas and stuff. We're going to get into that.
Not enough crawling through sewers.
Yeah. This movie, we cannot talk about the movie without addressing, to begin with, the opening crawl. Mm-hmm. And we will later on, we have to get into the closing crawl, which is just so bizarre to me. So this is how the movie starts. And a goof that people pointed out is that the Earth is reversed in this shot. So they couldn't even put the planet Earth looking the correct way.
That's because Superman was spinning around.
That's right.
Undo this movie from existence.
Oh, if only. But the opening crawl, it's so much. It's too much.
You're positing that this movie could, instead of having to be 90 minutes, could have just been 2 frames. Putting in closing crawl.
What I'm positing is that this 90-minute movie could have been 89 minutes long because the opening crawl and the finishing crawl have nothing really to do with what actually happens in the movie. So
it could be describing an entirely different movie.
It is describing an entirely different movie.
It's like in The Simpsons when Poochie goes to his home planet.
Yeah.
Just like
he had to go back to his home world.
So here you go. Like, ladies and gentlemen, just so you can get a true understanding of what this movie is about, okay? I'm going to get close to my mic. I'll do it like
Easy
this.
Statham.
On June 19th, 1987, at 9:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Earth passed into the extraordinarily diffuse tail of Rhea M, a rogue comet. According to astronomical calculations, the planet would remain in the tail of the comet for the next 8 days, 5 hours, 29 minutes and 23 seconds. Now, if you think that this movie is now going to take place over the next 8 days, 5 hours, 29 minutes and 23 seconds, you are fucking wrong. Because it takes place over like 2 days, and then it goes, we'll explain that later, which we'll get to. But this is the premise, okay? Earth is passed through a comet's tail, and as such, now machines have come to life, but
not all machines.
This is what I want to talk about. The rules of this movie make no sense.
Not all machines, but also some things that aren't machines.
Yes,
right, the guns, sprinklers and like headphones, and it's like so. I don't know. Again, and then ladies and gents, again, never really explained. Okay, but the things come to life, and they want to murder all humans. Apart from the trucks that will then circle around something that they could easily destroy for 2 days, but we're not going to be. But they just want to murder. Now, one thing that's unclear is it just one all-encompassing being that's controlling everything? Is every individual machine like its own sentient murder?
Is it all over the world? Is it just in this one area? Like,
is it just North Carolina? This is
why we need Beth on the podcast.
but
our resident semi-truck driver and congresswoman.
But if you think this movie is going to answer any of the questions posited, you are wrong. It is just going to give you more and more questions. But then the biggest question of them all is, wait a minute, music by AC/DC? Because I remember writing right at the beginning, the music's kind of playing, and I go, what is this, AC/DC? And then 2 seconds later, it goes, music by? Yeah. And I was like, no way. And again, I would say that, they use 2 songs from AC/DC. And then there is music every now and again that turns up in the movie where it's almost like they forgot that, wait a minute, my bet is that AC/DC did a 1-day session. Not even that. They sat down for an hour. They just played some AC/DC style riffs and they go, here you go, Stephen King. Thank you for the cocaine. Have a nice day. Because it doesn't fit into the movie. At times, I think, Will, you were the one that said, at times they go, wait a minute, should we have some music here? Quick.
You mentioned Purple Rain earlier. How is that any different?
I don't know. Never seen Purple Rain.
Can I just say that I would pay top dollar for Ollie to read the novelization of the movie of the book Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive
in this voice like this.
Yes.
You gotta call people a hero a whole lot though when you do that voice, because that's like half the lead actress's dialogue.
In a world. Oh no, that's right. Yeah. I was so confused by this. Is that so? Like, there's one point where we're gonna jump around on this one, but this movie is crazy enough that like Emilio Estevez has met some random chick, and Emilio Estevez is a former criminal that's working at a gas station or something like this. Yeah. But then it cuts away, and it's an 80-yard line where he introduces himself to her, they introduce each other, and Will just immediately comes on the text thread going, that's because Stephen King forgot to put that in the movie. Like, at no point does anyone actually say his name, but she is always referring to him throughout the movie as the hero. Yeah. It's like she is a meta character who is telling us that Emilio Estevez is the hero of this movie, even though he doesn't know this until later. And I'm like, why?
There's an interview where Stephen King was asked about this movie, and he just like wanted to make a movie for idiots. And if you just take that at face value and don't question anything in this movie, it's flawless.
Yeah, he describes it as a moron movie.
A moron movie.
It's his direct quote.
Yeah, that's it.
I get why he says that.
Wait a minute, I loved this movie. Hold on.
But like, it is just sort of filled with. It's still so entertaining. Yeah. Is just the best way of putting it. Is because it is so peculiar and so random at every single moment, juncture, character interaction, or death, like, like hilarious deaths throughout this movie.
I just want to say too, because you mentioned the music that was like sporadic throughout the film, but it sounded like when you get to the scene at the Little League baseball game, when the action kicks off, it's like the music is just going truck, 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 truck. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's because they're trucks.
What was the name of the book this was based off? Trucks? Oh, you got it.
I'm just the fucking slack-jawed yokel watching Maximum Overdrive, stoned out of my mind.
Stephen King's is like
This
subtext.
is a movie for me. Yeah.
Well, look, honestly, if you were stoned out of your mind, you were doing it in homage for the director of this movie, who was stoned out of his mind. And he's honest about this. He has no recollection because of all the cocaine he was doing. He doesn't really remember making this
the
movie.
cast and crew were saying he was like 10 beers deep by 9 a.m. or something like that. Like just just a fucking animal.
I would have loved
But Dino De Laurentiis is just like, I don't know, I trust him.
He's got the juice.
Yeah.
There's so many, like, there's the bit at the beginning where we have one of the characters who doesn't stick around very long. I thought he would be. He's the kid that he goes to play the arcade games, and the arcade game starts reacting, and his reaction is to go, "Yo, mama!"
That's right. It's Giancarlo Esposito from Breaking Bad.
No,
That's
it
Gus
isn't.
Fring.
No way. No, it's not. No.
How dare you lie to us, Ryan?
It's Giancarlo Esposito. I did not get that. I didn't. I'm pretty good with faces, and I missed that. I have to now rewatch the entire movie. It's changed.
Yeah.
Like, it's completely.
Let's go watch it right now.
Yeah, let's do it. But like,
Actually,
get the devil's lettuce. But yeah, no, it's what he says. Yo, mama. Yo, mama. Why? To what? To whom? In reference?
He's electrocuted immediately, and at that point you think like, oh shit, can the machines transfer their power or whatever, and then take over people?
Yeah.
But
no.
Nope.
I thought that's what was happening. No, he's dead.
Yeah, there's so many questions you have that are not answered. Like, why can't the car, like why aren't the machines taking over vehicles that people are driving in? Even though it seems like sometimes they are. Like when the kid is riding through the neighborhood and he sees cars crash and people just there's a lot of people like hanging out of car windows.
Yeah, and they've been like choked by headphones, and they've been like, and he gets chased by a lawnmower, which is gas powered, but then the sprinklers are going off, which are water powered. So can they control water?
Speaking of that lawnmower, Will, do you want to take it away?
That lawnmower. So there is a crew person walking around with a missing eye because Stephen King insisted that lawnmower have blades that work, even though it's not cutting grass in the scene. Like nobody's cutting. It's just the thing that's on. You don't see the blade. Why would you see the blades? But he insisted that it had real working blades, and then it sent like shrapnel flying, and it hit a crew person in the eye.
It hit the cinematographer's eye.
Yeah.
Whoa. So the cinematographer he's dealing not in stereo anymore.
He came back. It was like Splinters. He came back like a few days later to finish the film. And worked for like 12 years after that. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All of his movies were out of focus, but you know.
It's got no depth perception. Right. His tennis game was ruined. But like, there are questions I need answered. Like, for example, there's so much porn on the wall. Again, I haven't seen this much porn on a wall since The Exorcist 3, which is like, what
I thought you were going to say just one of the guys.
But
I thought you were going to say since my wall.
And just one of the guys, you're right. But there you go. It's like 80s movies. It's like, that's 3 now in like one season.
There's a lot to unpack in this, like the truck stop. But that is also of the arsenal from Tremors.
Well, okay.
Am I jumping ahead? Sorry.
No, you know what? Fuck it. Let's jump around because it makes about as much sense as the movie does. But at sort of this sort of point is that a ragtag group of people are kind of trapped in this truck stop. The trucks, for some reason, decide to just circle. Now, these are very big trucks, and much like and actually it happens later in the movie, they could at any time destroy this particular building. They don't. What they then choose to do is to drive around it continuously for about a day and a half until they run out of gas. They could have just sat there and not used the gas, but then how would we get the AC/DC pumping gas scene? But yes, it then comes out that the weird guy that runs the place, and he's like, because one of his employees,
Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, right. Is
yes.
it? But yes, it is. Oh my God, it is. It's Commissioner Gordon from the Batman TV show. But it's like what is that movie? I want to watch the movie that talks about him because he is some sort of international drug or gun smuggler that in his basement he's like the local the gangster of some kind because he's got rocket launchers.
Sorry, you're confused?
Yes, I'm wanting more. I'm wanting Maximum Overdrive 2.
You get like the convergence of all these people because you have Yardley Smith's character and her, like they're just married and she is so annoying in this role. It's
Oh
unfortunate.
my God, she's awful.
She's so annoying that it becomes so annoying that she actually becomes funny again. Because the amount of screaming she does in this movie makes me want to murder.
It's a lot, yeah. You get that, and then my favorite is, you get the little boy who survives the softball game massacre, which was maybe the funniest I've ever laughed, like the loudest I've ever laughed.
I've written it in some of the largest writing on my entire notes is, oh shit, coach, are you okay? No. Oh my God, we just squashed a kid because it's the softball scene where we get murder by soda can and then a fucking steamroller. And we run over a kid.
I'm not lying. I watched that scene again earlier before recording this, just so I could make sure I saw that because I was a little out of it. But I'm like, you see that kid get fucking flattened?
Yeah,
yeah.
It's like,
and this is hilarious as shit. And that's the thing is that I was noting throughout the movie. I was chatting with Will as well before Ryan was taken by the devil's lettuce. But is that there is like a whole other movie happening, which is the PG-13 Goonies type adventure, which is this kid on a BMX surviving. During this movie that keeps cutting between them. It's like, here's the R-rated ridiculous version, here's the Goonies version, and I'm like, if this kid doesn't save the day, because he's like a handsome little dude, I'm familiar, I know him from something, but I'm like, he's great. And then it gets later in the movie, I go, wow, this kid was made for war because he is unfazed. He is unfazed by all sorts of things. His dad's dead. He's fine. He even goes and murders one of the things with a machine gun.
He shoots the drive-through thing and then he hands the gun to him. He's like, I don't want this anymore.
I think that's social commentary, this movie is so fucking, okay, look. Again, we've been bouncing around, but to be honest, ladies and gents, if you ever see this movie, you'll understand. So does the movie.
I just wanted to talk about the kid getting steamrolled. That was it.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Get that in there.
But yes, you've got all kinds of random characters. So you've got Yardley Smith, who's Lisa Simpson, and her newlywed husband. She spends the entire movie to the point that you're like, how did he marry her? And you can't wait for her to die because she just won't shut up. But it actually plays very funny. Because it's really annoying, but it gets plain funny. There's a really misogynistic Bible salesman, which we've seen in other movies. It's always the guys who are super misogynistic.
He's the one with the female lead, the hitchhiker, right?
I think so.
The hitchhiker.
Yes,
the hitchhiker who famously was wearing too much clothes. They had to have her do a wardrobe change to make her
a couple of times. Yeah.
She went through a few wardrobe changes right at the beginning, and but I lost track of who she was.
Well, she's the hitchhiker in a sleazy guy's car. Which is exactly the same beginning as Showgirls. Here we go, guys. We've got Cemetery right here.
Oh, man.
I've just blown your minds, guys. And there's a bit where I think it was the husband, because I pointed out to you guys, I texted you guys on the thread, because when Yardley Smith and her husband turn up, and Mrs. and I were talking about it on the sofa at the time, but if you take 50% of Haley Joel Osment from each of them, if you take 50% from either of them, you get Haley Joel Osment. I was like, oh my God, that is actually scarily accurate.
She's such a mousy actress.
Yeah, but you're seeing I think it's the husband. He's looking around and he sees dead bodies, he sees murder, he sees blood, he sees everything. He's unfazed. But then he looks over and he sees a clock going backwards and he goes, good God. And it's like, it's like, well, that's what gets you? A fucking clock going backwards? I mean, all the dead people, no problem. We're fine with this.
Yeah, he's unfazed, but his wife is phased by literally everything and does not understand anything. There's a point where they find a dead body. Literally, all the blood is on the ground. And is he dead?
Yeah.
What do you think?
But you got to do it more. Is he dead? What's going on? We got to. Wow.
Crazy.
And she's
oh my God.
The thing is, she crushed it in this movie. I think. I mean, it's clearly Stephen King going more, but she's
right.
Great.
But I did have a question though. Why doesn't their car turn evil?
Yeah, that's what I was saying before.
Right?
Okay. What are the rules?
Well, then, and then at some point, one of the trucks is looking at them, and it moves the side mirror. So does it see through?
Which is
mirror?
an amazing camera shot, by the way.
It is a great camera shot.
That,
But what the fuck? Does the machine see from inside the truck? Does it look through the front? And it just moves the mirror. That's
you
what
guys
I mean.
are missing the point. We're the machines.
Oh, Stephen King. I take it all back. This movie's great.
Oh,
We're making a movie.
That's what I mean. Is that the rules that at no point they just shift every 5 seconds? Like,
was this movie written in the same motel that had Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon next
and Vince
to it?
McMahon.
They were next door.
They're just like a Coke motel where
Yeah.
artists go to write these films. Because I
mean,
want to go there.
This is exactly where I am in my notes, because there's the dog. They kill the dog, but it's like in some cases, some things like when the knife was moving earlier, it seems to be able to balance on its wire, and other people have been choked out by headphones.
The electric knife. Yeah.
Right, they've been choked out by a wire, and then it's like, and I just go, it's shifting the rules at every.
Yeah, because there's electricity
second.
inside the gas, like the where they're at, like the cafe.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. But like the stove isn't evil. Like there's, the fridge doesn't try to kill them. I don't understand.
And you just kind of have to glaze past that and be like, all right, whatever. There are no rules in this.
Well, you mentioned like the way that she changes the clothes, and I've actually got the notes here, and that's what I remember. It's like she goes, "I got the smell of dead guy on me," or something like this, and so she needs to go and change her clothes, and it was like, what the hell? Because then I think Will said there were 3 costume changes for her. Then I was like, the most random line is like, "I think I loaded my pants," and like when I think which the husband says as well. I'm just, this movie is.
Oh wait, didn't we also point out the bulky truck stop guy is also the guy in the wheelchair from Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Oh, I think that's what we thought. I don't know if it actually is.
Oh man.
Because if that was true, I was really rooting for him to die. So,
well, I was reading for quite a few. I mean,
I've been cured of wheelchair.
I got Yardley Smith's character. I go, she needs to die because she's driving me crazy. But then we get into like
pun intended. Nice.
Yeah, but it gets more crazy as, like I said, we access the basement, which is filled with an arsenal enough for Arnold Schwarzenegger to get his child back in Commando. But then, like, the way that people fire the bazooka, it's all hip firing, like, of bazookas and stuff like that, and there's a lot of shit that blows up, and there's some great stunts, and I'm wondering, I said how many stuntmen died.
It makes
know
you
that one
think,
cinematographer almost died.
Well, it makes you think, if he left the blade in the lawnmower, like, were those live rounds that RPGs that they were firing?
I mean, why not at that point? Yeah.
Okay, wait. There is one scene I have to talk about, and I can't remember if Ryan had died by this point, but I know that Will and I were chatting about it. But it's the bit where Emilio Estevez comes in, and I think he's talking to the heavyset guy, one of the guys, but it's the bathroom chat. But the whole time the guy's talking, you've got I'm going to say some of the finest Foley work ever of this dude just having a shit. And it's so stupid, but like I couldn't stop. Just like it's like not one time, not twice.
It happens a lot.
I knew it was going to happen too. Yeah, the moment they're in that scene, I'm like, oh, he's going to be talking, and there's going to be like Foley of shit.
just wet shit.
Yeah.
But now you picture, Stephen King in the editing bay with the Foley artist high off his ass. Like, no, you're not here. I want wetter.
Right.
I believe that he just did a bunch of cocaine and then went to the bathroom with a microphone. I think it's just Stephen King going fully.
That's just sufficient.
I couldn't believe it was happening, and I go, what is this movie doing right now?
And in the scene, while the characters are talking, one is in the stall. Emilio Estevez is washing his hand, and then he goes over and peeks in
over
there while this guy's taking the wettest shit ever. It's just insane.
Though, if you think that this movie is not going to be without someone going for the Oscar, can we please talk about the waitress who twice in this movie, she goes outside and she's like, we made you!
Yeah.
We made you! And she's just going for it, man. She is going, she's acting on 11 out of 10. She's acting like Elizabeth Berkley through the whole of Showgirls. But she just goes out and she does this. She does this soliloquy, she does this whole thing, and then she does it later on and gets fucking wiped out. But both times, I'm like, this is what I mean, is that it felt like they shot the movie in order. And it was just, hey guys, what do you think we should do next?
Let's try this.
Let's just do it. Give it a go. Let's roll cameras. And it's like they assembled the movie as it happened, as a fever dream over however many
better
days.
For it, I say.
I don't disagree, because I was thoroughly entertained by this movie.
Such a movie, like if this was like, maybe it was like on a lot when I was a kid, like if I watched this when I was younger, I'd be obsessed with it, because it is like that genre of culty, like The Wraith, for example. The only reason I love that movie is because I'd seen it so many times when it was on, versus this, which is very very wraithy.
Well, it is definitely Wraith adjacent, and like it is definitely one of those movies that is great because it is terrible.
Right.
But like it's like they're trapped in this place, which is kind of like Chang's place from Tremors.
Tremors. Yeah.
It's like it's the gas station, and it's the social area, and it's the restaurant / bar. There's also a bed, so Emilio can fuck the girl.
An arcade, yeah.
But it's like, oh guys, we're gonna, and they kind of seem to put 2 and 2 together about this comet. And so they figured out they got 7 days. And so their approach to survival is, hey guys, you just want to get fucked up? Yeah. And everyone's just drinking beer and hanging out and having sex. And I'm like, wow, you guys got some real survival instincts here. And then at some point, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, the husband is fingering Yardley Smith in the corner of the restaurant. That is
no doubt.
Definitely what was happening. And what is...
Well, they're newlyweds, you prude. These are the end times.
I was just so confused.
I was confused because, okay, if Pat Hangle is like, this international arms dealer, and he's got all these weapons under his store, they've got all these trucks around. Why aren't they using them from like moment one? Like, there's just no decision anybody makes in this movie makes any sense whatsoever, including the machines.
Yeah, well, it's funny because the machines, like, I like that they all weirdly had some semblance of well, not all of them, but you have some of them that have this semblance of a personality. Like, you have the Green Goblin truck.
Right.
What's funny is that these insanely large and loud trucks, how efficient they are at sneaking up on people.
Yes. It happens multiple times.
So many times where people are just, like, looking one way and they like, huh.
Yeah, it's one of the guys at the end, Bert or something like that. I'm like, how did he even die? What is he, deaf?
Right. So, like, stops to steal a ring off of a corpse. Another woman hanging out of a car. Great.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I've got here, like, are they vampires? Do they need to be invited in? Is that some rule that like Stephen King wrote for the trucks but forgot to tell us because they can't come into the house because they haven't been invited until later?
But they just decide to, after he gasses them up, they just barrel through it. So
I know, but I've got another bit. This is like I even wrote it as a note, but it's snort 50 cal, because it turns out with a vehicle that is just wheels and a 50 cal, but a 50 cal's not a machine.
And they also can't pivot up or down, so it can only go
right.
And I love the bit how they outwit it later, where Emilio Estevez and his body are just, hey man, let's just talk exactly, just be super subtle, and then they just swing the thing around, and I'm just like, did the actors realize what they were doing or what they were acting in?
I think so. I think it got to a certain point where, like, when they were filming this, they kind of realized the kind of movie that they were making and just fucking went with it.
Well, the bit where the machines are communicating through Morse code, and it's okay. The kid
He's honking the horn.
Just so happens to have a merit badge in Morse code.
Yeah. How convenient.
I got this, guys.
Yeah.
He a regular fucking Daryl over here.
Oh my god. Wait, you talked about the fueling scene. All right, we've got to talk about this. So, all right. So, like I mentioned, these trucks have been driving around for like a day and a half for no fucking reason, but they run out of gas. Yeah. And so they need to be refueled. And so Emilio Estevez is like, okay, fine. Let's just do it. Let's get him out. And he goes outside and he's like, I got the best on the East Coast. It's purely uncut. He starts doing a fucking drug deal. He sells it like drugs to this
Listen here, you bag of bolts.
Yeah, and exactly. Yeah, and it's just like, come on,
and
man.
it's like he's talking to a dog. Like, the truck is reactionary to him. That's what I'm saying. Like, for as silly as it is, with this gigantic green comic actor green goblin on the front of it.
Now, Will, was that, you mentioned there may have been, you didn't tell me the story, but is there an actual story behind why there is a Green Goblin? Or is this myth?
No, I mean, the reason's really stupid. The reason is just that Stephen King loves Marvel Comics. And if you've read The Dark Tower, he really loves the Marvel Comics. So that's literally all it is he just was kind of just homaging. I don't know if there's anything deeper than that, other than he just loves Marvel stuff. But
the truck was played by Willem Dafoe, so
that's true. Yeah. But like that whole refueling scene, like when they run out of gas, I was just like, so you've won. And when they're like, oh, they need to be refilled, I'm like, no. Like, tell them no. What are they going to do? They can't change anymore.
Exactly. Like why give them? It's now you fueled them. You've got 2 more days of danger. Like just ignore them.
All right, I'll fuel you. All right, I'll give you all the gas. You can go leave and terrorize another town. Like what is their mission?
Like hey, shoot out their tires and don't refuel them. You've won. It's over.
Now, okay, this is an interesting thing that I've just seen. All right, which is like we've done sort of similar stuff. But anyway, George A. Romero. There is a long held rumor that George A. Romero ghost directed a lot of this film while Stephen King was receiving treatment for his cocaine addiction, which is why at times there are sort of some reminiscent kind of vibes and shots, which I can sort of see. And like I said, it's never been fully confirmed. And much like a lot of people say that the Dread movie was actually directed by Alex Garland. Even though
I thought you were going to say Steven Spielberg directed Poltergeist,
right?
Yeah, which that one I don't believe.
That's another one of those persistent sort of like rumors, and you can see the influence. It's very like when I was a kid, I think it was one of those movies that I was sure Spielberg had directed, but it's like Spielberg presents. For sure, yeah. But that's one of those sort of random, like interesting things. Though I will say that the Dixie Boy truck stop was constructed in Wilmington, North Carolina. So, and it did right at the beginning. Did we not get like a North Carolina
immediately
plate, like one of the
right before the fuck you?
Oh wow! So here you go. I'm getting some of the stuff. So yeah, the lawnmower struck a block of wood, took the guy, the Armando Nanuzzi's right eye out, and he sued for $18 million. It was settled out of court, but
big bag of cocaine and an RPG.
I had an eye for detail. What can you say? Oh my god! This movie though, like this is one of the definitions of when we talk about there are some movies that you have to watch with a group. This is
for sure
one of the top 5 we've ever done.
Absolutely, from what I remember, and I will say that this movie looks really good. Like the shots and the direction, like it's fantastic. It's because De Laurentiis attached this famous cinematographer that like to help Stephen King kind of construct this film, and it shows. Like it's a good looking film. It's just kind of shitty.
No, there's the moment with the bridge, and there's things falling off it. There's some pretty good explosions, some pretty good stunts, some pretty good
moment with the steamroller. I know I mentioned it before. Just
it's just like
somebody needs to do like an in-depth study of why Stephen King likes to kill boys on like boy baseball players, like. Because it's in Dr. Sleep.
He definitely got bullied by a bunch of baseball kids at high school.
Yeah. And it is funny that he decided to make a whole movie where trucks are the villain years before he was hit by one. So
he was hit by a fucking truck?
Oh, was
it driven by the cinematographer of this film?
It might have been.
Eye for an eye, motherfucker.
Yeah. I didn't see you. Sorry, bro. You were on the right-hand side.
If only I had both my eyes. Yeah.
His short story was called Trucks, right?
Yes, it was.
There's also a movie called Trucks.
Well, we did Monster Trucks, didn't we?
I know that. No, I'm saying there because when I was doing my little YouTube research, trying to watch this movie for free, which you would think this movie for sure would be free on YouTube.
Nope. Shocked anyone owns copyright to this.
There is a movie called Trucks from 1997, which wait a minute, and it says based on the short story by Stephen King. They've done it again. So this is a made-for-television movie, so it's kind of like LA Takedown versus Heat.
Just like that. Sure,
it's exactly
Maximum Overdrive
the same.
Is Heat, and that one is LA.
Who directed that? Even Stephen.
It's directed by Chris Thompson.
Queen.
That was directed by Dean Koontz.
This one's directed by a guy called Chris Thompson, who doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, so he probably never made it. But this is a
ghost. It's a ghost name.
But this one takes.
Stephen
all
King
right,
again.
We talked about Tremors, and we're talking about Maximum Overdrive. Take the two movies and combine them. This movie is set in the town of Luna in Nevada, which is kept alive by its military base near Area 51. So it takes sort of like the sort of the
I thought
vibe.
you were going to tell me the graboids start driving the trucks. I'm like, yes.
I thought it was going to be underground trucks. That
I firmly believe that Stephen King is one of those guys that listens to podcasts where they talk about him. You've just given him an amazing idea for his latest book. He's already finished it, Stephen. And he's sold the movie rights already. It's done. But there we go.
It's just one page just says, "Hear me out."
Give me another shot, and I got another movie for you.
So at this point, so I mean, God, I can't even remember. Like, yeah, that's right. So eventually, they kind of band together, much like in one of those zombie movies. They escape through the sewer.
It's literally the end of Dawn of the Dead. They
right.
Well, let's get on a boat.
Yes. Now I've got two things I want to talk about. First of all, we walk past a plane that has crashed into a school bus. Now the plane has crashed
straight down
vertically. I am astounded at one, how did this happen?
The accuracy. Yeah.
Why did we not see this in the movie? But it was so bizarre to be like, it just went straight down. But then, okay. So is anyone else seeing the problem because they are escaping on a boat? And
sequel.
The very last thing I write is, does that boat have an engine? ... It does, because the guy is fucking driving it. So
right.
So, but just this whole.
I mean, it'd be cool if they're stalked by other boats.
Dude, oh my God. And then, so the movie has ended, and then we get the end crawl of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which
it's so underwhelming, the whole ending of this movie.
Here we go. I've got to do it again. So the movie has happened. The guys have gone away. They've escaped. They've gone into the boat. And as the boat is going away, suddenly this crawl comes over the screen to explain it all. 2 days after, a large UFO was destroyed in space by a Russian weather satellite, in inverted commas, which happened to be equipped with a laser cannon and Class 4 nuclear missiles. Approximately 6 days later, the Earth passed beyond the tail of Rear M, exactly as predicted. The survivors of the Dixie Boy are still survivors. What the fuck, guys? Because what did the first 4 lines talk about? 2 days after the bit that we've seen, which is a day and a half into these 7 days, a UFO was destroyed by a Russian weather satellite. So what did the UFO have to do with anything? Because also 6 days later, we passed beyond the comet as predicted. So was there another movie happening about a UFO and the Russians taking it out at the same time? Was the UFO controlling everything? Not even. Of course, we'll never know, because Stephen King doesn't even fucking know. What does this even mean? I was actually more confused by this epilogue scroll. Nothing makes.
It's so weird, because it left me with so many questions where it's like, why is he being coy about it being like a weather? This is the end of the movie, like where he's like, a weather satellite. Like, what are you trying to keep information from us? Like, what are you talking? Just say it's a weapon satellite.
This is my thing, right? Because we end the movie with questions, and usually an end crawl / epilogue answers the questions. No, this one asks more questions and doesn't answer them. And I'm like, we need an end crawl for this end crawl to experience, explain what we've just seen in the end crawl.
He just said it's a movie for morons, and you're making me read shit. Fuck you, dude.
Which is it, Stephen King? Yeah. I mean, and then, it's alluding to, it kind of reminded me a little bit of, did you guys see that bad second Independence Day movie?
Yes.
How
it's bad.
It's very bad, but the first 15 minutes of it's setting up a really cool universe.
Yes.
I actually remember turning to my brother 15 minutes into the movie and going like, this is really cool. And then the moment I said it, the movie heard me and it was like, oh, I'm supposed to be bad.
Yeah, that's exactly how I remember. Actually, it opens really strong and then just gets progressively shit.
Yeah, just tanks. But there's a part where they go to Africa. I forget if they just specify a country, just Africa somewhere. And they meet a warlord there who says like, oh yeah, one of the ships crashed and my people were fighting it for like 10 years. And you're like, there is a ground war movie I could have been watching, and I'm watching this. I got the same feeling here where it's like, there's a Russian UFO alien space war and I had to watch this instead. Fuck you.
No, we had to tell the story of the Dixie Boy in North Carolina. That's the more interesting.
How dare you, Stephen King?
I won't lie though, I enjoyed every second of this movie.
Yeah,
I'm getting the 4K.
I feel like there's a better if someone could take the reins, this could be edited to be a better film, like structurally. To answer some of these questions, I think it could be, I don't know, it's like you're saying, just to explain. I don't know.
You know what? Actually, I figured it out. The ending just every 10 minutes or so, you just need another crawl.
Explaining
what's going on.
I am
Well, no,
curious. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, just even like making the timeline work, like just being like, hey, when they left, that was day 8.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
passed through the tail of the comp. Okay, cool. Now I have way less questions.
Yeah, it's like he made the
This-
movie. It's like, oh shit, we wrapped it up in a day and a half. I've got to
You
explain
can't
the other
make
6
like
days.
a mystery box movie with no season 2. It doesn't fucking work.
Right.
It's like,
I would love to crowdsource money to make a sequel to this one. Get Emilio
It'll
Estevez back.
I see. It's
Stephen
so funny
King
you bring him up.
back.
He was my least favorite part of this movie. I didn't care for him. In
He
this.
seemed really checked out. Like
Yeah.
I don't was Repo Man around this time, because he has kind of the same look. So I'm wondering if like he
He's
was
a little
busy with
baby.
that.
He is a baby in this movie. Let's have a
Yeah.
look. Let's
And they
bring up his
wanted
filmography.
originally call back to just one of the guys. They wanted, was it Bruce Springsteen?
Was it?
They
I-
wanted
who's
Bruce,
the-
they
or,
wanted Bruce Springsteen for this movie.
Who was God? Who was the guy she was dating? The singer.
Oh wait.
Oh,
Bruce
yeah.
Springsteen was dating from the movie we
Just-
watched.
Yeah,
Just one of the guys.
They,
Yeah.
they wanted him to be the lead in this.
Oh,
They didn't. They were like, no.
He
but
was
he read
busy.
the script. And,
Yeah,
and-
he was
They
busy
wanted
with
like
no.
they wanted like an actual star. So they got because Emilio Estevez was coming off, I think, The Breakfast Club.
So yeah, now I'm bringing it up now. So we had 83 was The Outsiders, 84 Repo Man,
okay. So this is
85
after.
Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire, 86 Maximum Overdrive. So actually,
Wow, what a drop!
this is
Yeah.
this is him at the height of
96 Mighty Ducks.
Brat Pack. Yeah, this is 2 years before Young Guns and stuff like that. This was
So this is the going up and then a dip and then back up.
He
And then
kind of
back up,
looks
yeah.
like Martin Sheen in that one movie we
in
watched.
Badlands.
Badlands. A little bit.
bit,
I'm getting
little
that
bit.
like it's the white T-shirt. I don't know.
You know,
Yeah.
funnily enough, actually, now you say that, I am seeing that Emilio Estevez is also in Badlands. He is Boy on the Lamp Post,
yeah, I think we called that out.
uncredited
when we
role.
watched it.
Yeah. But God, I forgot we'd even watched that movie. We have watched so many movies for this
So,
one.
too many.
Way too many.
Some would say too many. I would say just.
See, I heard they tried to get Joe Estevez for this movie, and he turned him down, and that should have been a warning sign.
But again, you get like think about like a Charlie Sheen in this role, or just someone with a little more like.
Well, put
If
Charlie
he's
Sheen in
supposed
this role and make it a comedy like Hot Shot style, and we've got a movie. You know.
Oh my
Oh.
god!
now we're talking.
Steven, if you're listening,
Honestly, I'm amazed that Charlie didn't do a spoof of this like literally the next year. That would have been absolutely fantastic. Yardley Smith is very embarrassed by this film. I think everybody is. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. This
Not
movie,
Pat
like-
Hingle.
yeah. Well, this movie it didn't make an incredible amount of money. It didn't really return on its investment. The
It's had,
camera-
what,
You
a
don't
s-
say.
This had a $7 million, or excuse me, I think it had a $10 million budget and made 7. I want to say.
Something like that. Yeah,
Something like
9
that.
million, made 7, made 3.5 in North America. So they must have sold it in North Korea.
That was just cocaine, strictly like $8 million cocaine budget.
But
Right.
it was shot in Wilmington, North Carolina. Though everyone's accents were kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Whereas the campaign was shot in like New Orleans, Hammond, Louisiana, and it also says on the West Bank. And I clicked that and I go, they shot this shit in Gaza? And then I clicked the West Bank is actually an area of New Orleans. Because like for a second, I was like, what?
That's kind of like them
Man.
saying their factories are in America.
Yeah, I was
No, no, it's-
honestly, I was waiting for some scene in the campaign where they went to like they have the Israelis and the
The little
Palestinians.
title card just says America. And it's that just to go back to that, it's the kids in the factory with like the boiling green goo just making dolls.
Yeah. Oh my god, it was so random.
It's funny because it's true.
So look, there. Depending on who you are at this podcast, there was either one or there was 2 good movies. This one, though, I would say more than any of them, Maximum Overdrive is one of those movies you can't miss. You have to see it for what it is much of a mess that it is. It's the great mess. It's that little dog that's lost its leg and it's missing an eye and it's got its tongue hanging out and it's like got 2 tails.
God damn, it's full of heart.
Yeah, and cocaine.
But if this is one of those movies where if the gas station they were at wasn't fucking exploded at the end, would be like an iconic location that they would celebrate every year, much like the motel in Bottle Rocket.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, the fact they don't have showings of Maximum Overdrive every year. Well,
Surprised this movie he didn't make this in Maine. Why?
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's the first Stephen King book that's not set in New England. So
That's
yeah,
where this movie went wrong.
yeah,
Right.
that's it. But the big question is, so as we like to do on this podcast, is we like to crown champions. Now, last time out, we crowned Bull Durham, the champion of North Carolina, and that was a great week when we had that, because we also had Dirty Dancing, we also had Last of the Mohicans, and that was very much when Beth helped us answer the question of shot in versus set in. But when it came down to it, there was just something so intrinsically real about Bull Durham, about the lifestyle, about the people, about the towns, about the baseball, and everything else in between, that I feel like we may have done too good a job. Because when it comes to this week, that we do have, like, you know, so we come to the campaign is very specifically about North Carolina all the time. It's very specifically about North Carolina politics and all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, and it's something that Ryan likes to bring up a lot when we do this, but it's like, you could have set this in Texas.
Yeah.
You could have set this
Any fucking gas station. There is.
Well, no, I'm talking about the campaign. When, like, where
Oh,
it's like,
shit.
it's like,
Yeah.
is in both of these cases. So yeah, like, as much as the campaign is set in North Carolina, it's shot in other places where we know that doesn't stop us. But the other side is that, yeah, you know, the North Carolina of Maximum Overdrive is completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
Completely.
Plus, I think also Zach Galifianakis is like born and raised in North Carolina too. That adds a point to that.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
I think so, yeah.
Because I have to sort of throw it out that, like, sometimes we have long debates, sometimes we have contentious debates, and sometimes every now and again Will or Ryan will throw something out that completely changes the trajectory of what is going to happen. But I don't personally see any competition from the two that we brought to the table. Fellas, what do you
The
think?
campaign it is. But this is one of those instances where we would need Beth to really give us the nuance to just how North Carolina these movies are. And
I will say, okay, you know what? You say that, it does remind me. So, for those that don't know, Beth and I used to work together on the TV show that all of us met together on. And Beth Troutman, as well, is also one of the funniest human beings I've ever met in my life. She has a phenomenal amount of stories. And she did talk about one of her, I believe this is growing up in North Carolina. This is a very, very Maximum Overdrive story. But she did have... wait, you guys wait.
She was steamrolled?
Close. Guys, no, seriously. So she had one of her uncles used to help with the gas deliveries. And he used to sit on top of the truck and he would just open the thing and he would just huff gasoline to the point that all he could say was ring, ding, 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 ding. So if you add that element of North Carolina, this is a real story I have got from Beth Troutman. Beth, I hope you don't mind telling the story, but I'm doing it. It's going to be the
Unless that truck had the Green Goblin on the front of it. I don't think you can make that
hey,
connection.
you never know. But
Very well could have, though.
I've always remembered, like, Nick Calderon, one of my co-hosts, is crying, laughing at the time, and she's just telling the story of her uncle who delivered gas, and all he can say is ring, ding, 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 ding. So, you know,
Sounds like a real rad dude, if you ask me.
Hell yeah.
it sounds like Stephen King's approach to making this movie, but just replace gasoline with cocaine. So, you know,
Who's to say which is more healthy? I mean, really.
so I mean, does that move the needle at all for you guys?
I mean, I think what really kills both these movies for me is there's not a human in either one. You know, whereas like Bull Durham actually features people who like are from Earth. Like I don't think Maximum Overdrive actually takes place on Earth. It doesn't, because the continents are reversed, so it's not even our planet.
It's, oh my god, Will, it's Bizarro Earth.
Yep.
That actually makes perfect sense now. I can't believe you actually made that movie make sense to me.
I fixed it, Stephen King. Just
he just, you know, you've said that and Stephen King's going to hear it and he's going to, actually, that's what I was going for the entire time.
it's going to be like when he saw The Mist and he's like, oh, they did it better. He's going to listen to this podcast and be like, they fixed it.
Let's go.
God damn.
Done and done. But yeah, Ryan, buddy.
Is it implied that in Stephen King's Christine that this takes place at the same time?
You know, that's a good
That would
point.
be amazing.
I mean, this has said a very similar thing, actually, that it's Christine, but with trucks. And there's, you know, and there's lots of them.
Christine meth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't think either of these movies have got the chops to be able to take out
Nah.
Bull Durham, which is a home run of its own making.
Boo.
Get that steamroller in here.
So I'm gonna say it. I know you guys are on board with it. That here at the United States of Movie Podcast, the champion of North Carolina is still Bull Durham, a movie that is an iconic movie and really is going to give you a feel for the state. But that being said, what are some of the other movies? Because, like I said, we did try to get Beth on the show. She did sort of text us a whole bunch of recommendations to look into. One of them was Nell, which like Will had never even heard of Nell.
No.
I've heard of that. Is Jodie Foster, right?
Jodie Foster as like, and I think it's based off a true story, but she's like she's raised in the wild by animals kind of thing. So she's just like, I remember that.
I remember the trailer for that movie, and I feel like it would be a little problematic now. It's like her going full on. I don't know.
She's raised by. Is she raised by wolves? Is she like literally? I was raised by wolves, and
she's not. She doesn't. She doesn't even speak because she uses. She's got her own wild language, and it's like someone's brought in to kind of like reintroduce her to the world. So that's one.
Yeah, I bet that's not problematic at all.
Yeah, no, I think
probably just fine.
Sounds great to me. Another one that I think I was tempted by. I haven't seen since it came out, and I don't think either of you had seen it. But it's the movie Cold Mountain. Which was definite, like total Oscar bait. It was Jude Law, Nicole Kidman, and Renée Zellweger all at the absolute peaks of their career. And if I remember correctly, Renée Zellweger won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in it, and for good reason. She is great in that movie, absolutely steals it. But it's kind of like it's a Civil War kind of epic of a way, but it's not so much about the Civil War. It's more about this guy trying to get home to his wife kind of thing. But it was really, it's kind of like in the same vein as like Last of the Mohicans, but not. Yeah, if you know what I mean.
But not cool.
Yeah, not directed by Michael Mann.
Yeah, it's funny because I think I told you guys I have the script for that. I actually have the Academy like submitted version of the script, not the one, but like it was one they sent out to everybody who's voting in the Academy. So I have the script and I've read the script. I have not seen the movie.
Oh wow!
So. The script was great.
Nerd.
Yeah. I remember it being really good, but I watched it when it came out and haven't seen it since. And that movie is
I mean, there was one, but I'm going to
save.
I'm going to save it for our next episode, and it's Talladega Nights, baby.
Honestly, yeah, we almost went Talladega. That was another one of the ones that honestly Beth recommended as well. Like, it's just, it hits it.
I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yes, that's one.
I remember that really being very North Carolina. I didn't even remember that was.
But there is another one that came out. I watched it with my daughter. It's a relatively new movie. It's called Where the Crawdads Sing. Yeah. Came out. It's based off a book. Came out in 2022. It's very, very North Carolina. Like it's like, but it's super. It reminded me of Mud.
Mud. I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's a very Mud kind of story. Gotcha. In that regard. And then there's a lot of like these cheesy, like Nicholas Sparksian kind of look like romance movies are there. There's a Safe Haven, A Walk to Remember. Then there was also Kiss the Girls, but there's The Longest Ride. So there's some stuff in here that we can get into.
Blue Velvet in there. The Hunger Games.
Oh yeah.
God. Days of Thunder.
Yeah. Well, for a minute, I was like, guys, do we do Talladega Nights and Days of Thunder? You know, I tried it.
Talladega Nights of Thunder.
It didn't work, but I tried it. So this, I think next time around we've got because I think honestly, we just couldn't resist the temptation of Maximum Overdrive. It was just staring us in the.
Cape Fear was another one that comes up a lot.
Is that North Carolina?
Yeah, both.
All right. All right, we've got to, because I've never seen Blue Velvet either, but I think next time around, because we've had 2 weeks now where our champion has destroyed, but next week we are going to Illinois, which also had one of our all-time champion movies, which is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But I think, guys, we have done very well. The two movies that we have chosen. Will, why don't you remember one of the ones we chose?
Yeah, so we're going with Blues Brothers, which is very important to my origin story, which I'll get into next week.
It involves fucking.
But interesting enough, like Ryan's never seen Blues Brothers.
I have not. No.
So that's going to be an interesting one. But then also, and Ryan, what's the other movie we're bringing to the table? Do you remember?
Backdraft.
Yeah. And I'm like, because we did say that when it came to when it
I almost picked it last year.
yeah, and with Ferris Bueller, like it does a sort of the vibe of Chicago, and I'm like, Backdraft is gonna nail that one, but also the Blues Brothers, we're gonna get a sort of like a real vibe for Illinois. It's going to be a bit different. I'm really excited for Ryan to see this one. So I'm thinking that finally, for 2 weeks, season one's been winning, but I think next week we're going to have a real fight on our hands as we head to the state of Illinois. I'm really looking forward to these movies. Actually, it's been so long since I've watched Backdraft. Yeah. I love that movie.
Oh,
so
I can't wait. I'm watching it.
That was still, honestly, still one of the coolest things I've ever done. When I went to Universal Studios.
Set yourself on fire.
Yeah, but it was when I was 16, when they still had the Backdraft experience.
Oh shit!
Where they would just blow something up in front of you. There was no barrier and stuff like that. And I was like, this seems
why your eyebrows haven't grown back.
Yeah. So join us next week. We're going to head to the state of Illinois. Check out your local streamers. Remember, we always recommend using the app Just Watch. It's a great way of figuring out where stuff is streaming. So look for Backdraft and look for Blues Brothers. Also, remember, YouTube is useful. You can find all kinds of movies for free on YouTube, but you didn't hear it from us. So make sure you check that out. Don't forget, as always, if you don't already subscribe, do us a favor and subscribe to us on YouTube. Jump in, give us a comment. Like this week, we got a great comment from someone that said, blah, 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 babbling, not interested. Thank you very much for that comment.
This guy's been listening since day one.
He gets us. Don't forget, you can also find us on our Facebook page, The United States of a Movie, or jump in onto Reddit, things like that. You can find me as Ollie Pettigrew or as That Englishman in Texas on Instagram, TikTok, things like that. You can find Will as Entitled Millennial. His TikTok's great. He's got a huge movie collection. He really likes to get into it. And Ryan, as we said last week, he's such a great designer. He's been banned by Etsy, but you can still find some of his designs. Just look him up, Rhino Digital, RYNO Digital, not just for interesting designs and merch from the stuff we talk about on the show, but also his great redesigns of classic movie posters. They are excellent. They look great on your wall. Would make a great Christmas present. So make sure you check it out. All that being said, this has been another great episode. I'm like, Will, I'm so sorry for the 20 minutes of torture we put you through for the beginning of this. But you seem
20
to
minutes.
enjoy.
That movie is 90 minutes. What are you talking about?
But making you relive it. But I will say, talking about Maximum Overdrive was an absolute ball.
Definitely helped.
That was definitely made my week. I can't wait for next week's episode as well. But as always, from me, Ollie, from Ryan, and from Will, thank you for joining us for this episode of the United States of a Movie podcast.